Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Night Show on Borough Fan TV with me, James Hutchinson. Joining me tonight on the show are Lee Bailey and Joe Scott. Welcome to the show, lads.
Cheers.
And then Hutchy.
Good. Tonight, Borough fans, we're going to look back on two superb away displays by the Borough down at Bristol City and at Cardiff. 4 points have been added to Borough's tally for the season. How encouraged are you by this, Borough fans? And are you now revising your aims and hopes for this season? We're also going to look ahead to a busy week at the Riverside for Borough as they take on Coventry City tomorrow night and Nottingham Forest at the weekend. What are your hopes from those two games? What would be an acceptable points tally from those two matches for you, Borough fans? Let us know on your platform tonight on Borough Fan TV on the Monday Night Show. So, first of all, Lee, nice to have you back, pal.
Cheers.
Last Tuesday night, we were away to the league leaders. No captain, only one fit striker in the squad, but it was still no problem for Neil Warnock and the boys. One of the players that came in was Patrick Roberts. How impressed were you with his contribution, Lee?
Thought he offered us what we've been lacking, really, going forward. Decent performance.
Yeah, no, spot on, mate, yeah. And Joe, it's like a hard-fought victory for us, but it was a deserved victory, I would say, and it took us back into the top half of the table at the time. What pleased or impressed you the most, Joe?
In my opinion, I think it's the whole team, to be truthful, because the whole team spirit and the whole team togetherness we showed at Bristol was probably one that proved most crucial in the victory. You know, saying that could have been more if Chuba Akpom put those two chances away in the first half, but it was good. It was eventually good in the end that Saville capitalised on the Taylor Moon mistake and gave us the goal that gave us the 3 points in the end.
Yeah, and Lee, I think what's growing in terms of its influence in games for the Borough at the moment is the axis in midfield of Johnny Howson, Sam Morsey and George Saville. They're looking like a really good combination at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I've been impressed with Morsey myself. Like, just reminds me of like not as good, obviously, but a Boateng type. You know, just goes about, does the quiet stuff.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you there. Thanks for that, Drew. Also, I mean, the ability to see the game out, Joe. They broke the play up, and it's frustrating when you're on the receiving end of it. But we had relatively few scares after we took the lead, didn't we?
No, I didn't think Bristol City had a single snip in the game, apart from possibly in the first half when Jamie Patterson had that half chance. But then there was that one little concern when they could have had a penalty nearly right at the end when Paddy McNair brought down, I think it was Bakinson, I think. So that left our hearts fluttering a bit, but we hung on. And to go against the team, you know that we were unbeaten at the time as well from the season. To come away with 3 points out of that, which we don't get many out of Ashton Gate recently, but until now. So it was good to get that all-important 3 points at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, fair point, Joe. Josh Arnold, thanks for watching again, Josh. He said there, with regards to the players that you mentioned there and the comparison with George Boateng, that's a big thing to live up to, that, isn't it, Lee? Because Boateng was a very influential player when he was at the Borough.
Yeah. Well, like when I say that, I'm just comparing him to someone who I can think of, you know what I mean? Like, he's obviously nowhere near that level yet, but just a similar type of player for me.
Yeah.
I'd say with similar kind with Grant Leverton as well when he was here.
Yeah, I think it's been something that's been missing out of our team since Grant left, hasn't it? Somebody in midfield who just like do a bit of the nasty work, some of the work that's maybe not too flash and easy on the eye, but you need someone, especially in the Championship, that'll do that sort of job, don't you, Lee?
Yeah, like, well, obviously, like, especially Neil Warnock teams, they've all like got that type of player, you know. Yeah. But you're starting to see like Warnock's team now, his imprint on it. You know what I mean? Like Bristol City for me, like perfect away performance.
It was, yeah. And I think what was nice as well, I'm sure you have your own thoughts on this as well, lads, was at the end of the game, when you saw all the squad, and it was all the squad, it was the subs, the full 11 that started, and the coaching staff that were all on the pitch at the end of the game. That sends out quite a powerful message, doesn't it, Lee?
Yeah, well, yeah, like, especially at the end, like you said, when he had them all huddled up, like, it's just good to see, isn't it? Like, I think, like, last season at times, you questioned whether there was, like, any team morale left, but seems to be back now.
Yeah. Joe, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
As I said before, it was the whole togetherness of the team and the team spirit and the togetherness of the team that obviously brought us to 3 points in the end. But you start to see how Warnock's starting to gel the squad together ever since he came in, and that's going to be crucial for us now, from now until possibly May, when the season ends.
Yeah. Chris Sykes, a regular on the show. Evening, Chris. Yeah, you did call the results last week, and I'll be honest, I think at the time we would have been more than happy with the 4 points. So, well done, pal. Good call, good shout. That. I think from the away games, we'll look ahead to the Cardiff game. I'll look back at the Cardiff game in a minute, boys. But I think all Borough fans want to see it. It was evident in social media after the 2 matches, but particularly the Bristol City game. Borough fans just want to see a team that puts a shift in, gives their all. And I think it's safe to say we've seen that in both the games and at Bristol City. And I think Borough fans aren't a demanding bunch. We're not after a side that'll play flashy football week, and we just want effort. And we've been getting that recently, haven't we, Joe?
Yeah. Results have not been pretty. Performances sometimes have not been pretty. But at the end of the day, we're grinding results out, and we really just had that one blip, and that was at Watford at the start of the season. But if we keep that one going, but hopefully we get more wins under our belts, and hopefully playoffs could be a possibility, perhaps. But we'll have to wait and see come the end of the season.
You had a bit of a dig about that to me on Tuesday night, Lee, when I mentioned about possibly the season we could, you never know, with a fair win behind us, make the playoffs. But I think, like we were saying, what's evident is the fans have growing belief in the players and the system and what they're doing, and there's a pride back amongst Borough fans with the club at the moment. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Yeah, like I'm starting to enjoy it. I know like the performances aren't exactly great, but like if we can go away from home like we have been and get points like that, I'm all for it.
Yeah. No, good point, pal. George Saville, we're going to look at him in a moment because we're going to talk about the Cardiff City game. Josh is in touch again. They're saying he's a changed man this season, and if he gets 8 to 10 goals, it'll be a good season. Neil Warnock mentioned in his press conference after the game at Cardiff at the weekend, Joe, that he needs players to contribute from midfield in terms of goals. And do you think it's obviously helped where Saville's now playing in the side that he will get more goals like he did in his Millwall days?
Well, that's what you hope, though, isn't it? He did some when he was on loan at Wolves previously as well. I think it was just last season. I think it was more of a chance that he wasn't really much in the team, and now I think it's just a case of Warnock bringing the best out of him. And obviously, I think when he missed that penalty in the penalty shootout with Northern Ireland, but Northern Ireland ended up winning, and he ended up scoring 2 goals in 2 games. That just seems to give him that bit of confidence now in front of goal, and that's exactly what we need. What we need. So now more than ever, out of Saville, to be honest. Yeah.
So 3 points at Bristol City. Then another tough fixture at the weekend was Cardiff away, Lee, taking on Neil Warnock's last club. And he did so with a change in formation, which I think surprised a few people. He went with a 4-3-3 at the weekend instead of his back three, which has been tried and trusted most of this season. And again, it's showing flexibility, isn't it? And do you think he changed that approach with his opposition in mind?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's just like he's not as much as a dinosaur as people think. You know what I mean? He's willing to change it about, and I think he changes it depending on who we play. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And as you said there, Joe, about George Saville, second game in a row he scored a goal. And he has critics, and he has had his critics in the past, but he clearly has an important role to play for Warnock, doesn't he?
Yes, when I wasn't expected, particularly when we signed Morsey, I thought Saville was just more going to be a bench warmer, but I think Warnock must have given him a motivation to give him enough to give him a run in the team, and that's exactly what Saville's produced so far. So it's kind of surprised me a little bit this season as Saville.
Yeah. And Ryan Love, thanks for getting in touch, Ryan. He's made a point there, Lee, about another player that maybe last season had a difficult season, but seems to be putting in a shift this year and producing really impressive performance, and that's Mark Bowler. Do you think there's a reason why players such as Bowler, Dyke, Steele, Dale Fry, who had tough seasons last year, are now producing the goods under Neil Warnock?
I think it is man management. I've just finished his book, mate, and it's a good read. Like he's all about team and man management. I think it's just man management.
Yeah. And Joe, going back to Cardiff, with the players they have at their disposal, I mean, they've got an impressive squad and an impressive list of players. It was obvious we were going to become under increasing pressure during the game, but as we said there, that defensive unit largely stood up to the pressure they were put under, didn't they?
It certainly did. When you look at it, you obviously got the likes of Keith Moore and obviously Harry Wilson in your team. Cardiff were going to be a tough start to crack. And I think in the first half, we managed to cope well with it. And obviously, we got the reward in the end with the goal. And I think in the second half, to be honest, Cardiff were the much better team and they ended up getting the goal in the end, which we'll discuss in a bit. But I think they did well, to cope with the likes of Moore, to cope with the likes of Harry Wilson as well. So I think McNair, Fry and Dijksteel do deserve a hell of a lot of credit in that first half. Yeah.
I mean, again, in recent times when we've had successful season, lads, I don't know what you think about this, it's often been built on us having a solid defence. So at the moment, Lee, with what we've got at our disposal, do you think our defence could achieve the success, say, that a Karanka side did when they were very solid at the back, hard to beat, hard to breach? Or do you think it's maybe asking a bit much of what we have at the moment and we need maybe some reinforcements there?
I still think we're a bit thin, like especially if he's playing free at the back, which he seems to like the majority of the time. But to ask like whether they can do what Karanka's team done, it's a bit of a stretch because I think they went 9 games, didn't know how conceded, something like that.
Yeah.
But they've done all right, and I think Dale Fry's like a different player this season. So yeah, Dijksteel as well. There's another one. He's been
Dijksteel. Yeah, David Johnson's getting in touch with their saying about Fry, Dijksteel, and Paddy have been awesome. And I don't think there's any dispute about that, lads. We're 7 games in the league now, and I think for many Borough fans, we've probably overachieved in terms of the results we've got because I think we've had a really tough start on paper in terms of who we've come up against. And like I say, Simon Coultonton made a good point that we've got decent results against the teams we maybe didn't expect much against, but we hope we don't drop points in the easier games. Now, not that there's many easy games in the Championship, but that's the fear now, isn't it, that you might slip up in games where you're expecting to win. But going back to Cardiff, they did equalise, as you mentioned, Joe. Neil Warnock wasn't too happy with the manner of the equaliser, and he claimed that there was a foul in the build-up to the goal. Do you take on board what he says, or do you think he's maybe clutching at straws a bit?
From what I saw in the highlights, I think he does have a point because I think Bettinelli was obstructed in the lead up to it, and obviously Shea Ojo put it in the net. But I do feel that Warnock did have a case of that Marcus Bettinelli was obstructed in the build-up to the goal. Yeah,
what was your take on it, Lee? Did you think it was a fair goal or just?
I think it's one of them that like sometimes given. So if it's given against you, you're angry. If it's given for you, you're happy. But like for me, you could see their goal coming for like 20 minutes when they went 2 up front and they were just bombing balls into the box. But like I say, I'm happy with a point, especially at Cardiff. But I don't think we can have any troubles with that. I think it was an alright goal.
I think it's one of those things. It happens in the box. There's going to be contact when players are. I think you're just clever if you can get away with it. But I don't think it was like a major rick from the referee. You just take that on board. I mean, you mentioned there about when they went 2 up top, or when they put Glatzel on anyway with Moore, that they started bombing balls into the box. There was long throw-ins going in and everything. So how surprised were you after the match the way Neil Harris promoting our style of play, saying that we were smashing it over people's heads all afternoon when it seemed like they were doing that, if not more to us. What did you make of that comment?
It's got, I don't know, he's taking heat off himself, isn't he? Like, I think they were quite cynical as well, me. I thought they were quite a dirty team, but just like he's just taking heat off his own bad performance, I guess.
Yeah. How about you, Joe?
It's one of them, typical trying to play off for what Warnock criticism, but like I said before, Cardiff were a better team in the second half, and roughly they did deserve a goal in the end. But I would have taken a point out of Cardiff anyway, because I don't think we would have got away with 3 points against at Cardiff. So I would save that and move on to the fixtures we got coming up, because I think we've got 4 more before we go into the November international break, I think.
Yeah. Well, Joe, you were with us last Monday night, and we were saying there about our hopes that Borough could get 5 points from those 3 games. We've got the one from the Reading. So to actually end up with 5 points from Reading, Bristol City and Cardiff, how impressive is that?
I've been rather impressed. I would have seen us just get 3 or maybe just 1. But we managed to get that in the end. But like I say, we've got tough games coming up. Coventry coming up will be winnable, and then but the other 3 teams are probably the more formed teams in the Championship, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Yeah. David Jackson's been in touch there saying about Kiefer Moore, who was up front for Cardiff of the weekend. Exactly the kind of player we could do with in attack, and I think having seen his display and seen him before when he played at Barnsley, you can see why Neil Warnock, Lee, wanted to bring him here in the summer. He would have fitted in ideally with our side, wouldn't he?
The way we play under Warnock, yeah, he would have. But just, how many players we've been linked to and didn't get anywhere near them. I'm quite happy with Akpom though. I think he's been all right.
Yeah. I think he's pleased people with how he's starting, and not just the goals he's got. I know he scored in his first 2, but his work rate as well, because he's been a difficult job to do, and he's doing it, isn't he?
On Saturday, he had a proper thankless task, really, didn't he? But to be fair, I was a bit thinking, what a poor signing that is. But he's impressed me. Good.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased about that. Yeah. And tomorrow night, Joe, it's Coventry City. We're back at the Riverside. They've returned to the Championship after an 8-year absence. Do you see many changes to the Borough's lineup tomorrow night? Bearing in mind it's like less than 72 hours since they played at Cardiff.
I won't be surprised if he makes a couple. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to see Patrick Roberts against Cardiff. Obviously, he was an unused substitute. So I won't be surprised if probably he might be coming back to the fold. And obviously, we've got Britt back in there as well. He came on for a bit last Saturday. But I think Warnock doesn't want to take the chances of putting him into the mix far too soon. So I would imagine Assombalonga will still be on the bench tomorrow night. But I'll probably see Roberts possibly coming in for possibly Tab perhaps tomorrow night.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Lee? Do you think there might be a case for Britt starting with Chuba Akpom tomorrow, or do you think Britt might come in as a replacement and give Akpom a bit of a rest, or what do you see happening?
I think he'll go with them both up front. I think it's a home game, in a game we're expected to win. I think he'll go with 2 up front. Yeah.
I tend to go that much because I think that's the game tomorrow night to target the 3 points. No disrespect to Coventry, I think that's the game you've got to get the 3 points from. I mean, Mark Robbins, his men at the weekend, they've gone 4 games without a win now in the Championship, and they were walloped 4-0 by Blackburn on Saturday. So what you're expecting tomorrow night, it's going to be still not going to be an easy game, but what you're expecting? Go with you first, Joe.
I'm probably expected to still be a tight game because last season with Coventry, they went up as League One champions and probably deserved as well after what they've been through, obviously, for the last few years. Obviously, not having a stadium of their own, but have the ground share with Birmingham at the minute. And plus the problems they have with their owners as well. And the way they fought back to get promotion back to this level, they're obviously going to be a tough team to crack. So, but hopefully, like you said, they've had a bit of a abysmal run. And obviously, they got walloped 4-0 by Blackburn at the weekend. They obviously want to have a response. So I'm probably going to go with a 2-0 Borough win, but we're going to watch out really for their main threats, particularly, Matt Godden, who was their top scorer last season. He's going to be their main danger man for them, I think. Yeah.
How about yourself, Lee? What you're expecting?
I'm going routine 2-0 win, I think.
You're going to go 2-0 as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be not easy, but I think it'll be one of our easier games.
Right. We will see tomorrow night. I mean, Steve Walker, thanks for being in touch, Steve. He thinks in terms of selection that he'll see Neil Warnock protect those lads that have been struggling with niggles in the next few games. It's great to see that all the lads are pulling in the same direction at the minute. And that's the thing, like you've said there, both of you have mentioned, we've got another 4 games now before the next international break. And I think even in the best of circumstances, if you had a large squad at your disposal, you would still have to rotate these players quite a bit. And we haven't got that luxury. So it's going to be difficult because the performance levels are going to dip to some extent. But I think, as you two lads have mentioned, we're expecting a win tomorrow. I've put us down as a narrow 2-1 win tomorrow. But I think there'll be a lot of Borough fans, especially after the run we've been on. If we don't get 3 points tomorrow, there'll be a bit of disappointment, won't there, Lee?
Yeah, well, after the run we have been on, like, is it only Watford who's took max points off us?
Yeah.
I think tomorrow, we'll win. It's Forest I'm worried about. We always struggle against them.
Just going to come on to that like now. So at the weekend we've got Forest. Traditionally a bogey side for us, whether it's at the City Ground or even at the Riverside. Can you think why that is, Joe? Why do you think you just have bogey sides that you just can't seem to win against?
I don't know. Forest is a tough one. Obviously, you know, I mean, obviously I'm surprised they've actually after the lockdown, I actually picked them to go up in the playoffs last season, but obviously they've dipped instead. And obviously the start of this season, obviously they've dipped even further. Obviously, they got rid of Sabri Lamouchi and they brought in Chris Hughton, who's a proven manager who can get teams out of the Championship. Obviously, what he's done with Newcastle and Brighton. So they'll be looking to bounce back, which they've done recently, picking up, I think it was like 4 points from their last 2 games. But they've been, like I say, they've been a bit of a bogey side for us recently. I remember coming away disappointed when they come away from the City Ground when they beat us 3-0. So there are going to be a tough side of breakdowns, but from what I've seen when they played Derby last Friday, they do look vulnerable at the back when it comes to coming forward. So I'm hoping we'll probably get a 2-1 win against Forest.
Yeah. Well, that would be a great result, Mark. When we're just looking back there about selections and squad size and rotations, made a really good point there. If we're not careful, we could lose Paddy or Sam to Wintry with the amount of games they're playing, because obviously they're playing competitive games through the international break. And both of those players have been instrumental in our start of the season, haven't they? It's like you said, Neil Warnock's got a difficult job on his hand managing the resources at his disposal, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, like that's. I don't think he was too fussed about going up the League Cup. Like, obviously, 46 games in this league, and then had cup games in. Like, we've got a thin squad as it is, so I'd be tempted to rotate it, but who? I don't know.
Yeah. And like I mentioned there about Forest, again, a bit of a bogey side over the years. And you mentioned there, Joe, about their end of last season, which was horrific. And it's ended up at the start of this season, it's run over into this season. It's cost Sabri Lamouchi his job. Chris Hughton's taken charge, and he's a proven manager at this level, isn't he, Lee? He's done it with Newcastle, he's done it with Brighton. And you can see already they've gone his first 3 games undefeated. They're going to be a tough proposition at the weekend, aren't they?
Like, my heart's saying point, but everything else is saying we'll get beat by Forest. But I'll take 4 points from these 2 home games if I could. Yeah,
I've got to agree with you, mate. I think if you keep getting 4 points every 2 games, you're not going to be far away from challenging for stuff at the end of this season. And I still think people might say, you should be aiming for 6 points from 2 home games, but I still think 4 points would be a good return. I mean, Joel, you look at some of the players that Forest have gotten, for whatever reason, it wasn't happening for them at the end of last season. And then what they've brought in as well in recent weeks, you've got Joel Ollie there, Cyrus Christie, ex-Borough player, Harry Arter, Lewis Grabban, Lyle Taylor, Anthony Knockhart's just signed for them as well recently. They've got some squad at their disposal, haven't they, Joe?
Yeah, you consider the squad like, near Premier League quality by looking at the squad they got. Obviously, we know about Grabban, we know about Lyle Taylor, the threat they can cause up front, and like you said, Anthony Knockhart, a player who Chris Newton knows very well from his time at Brighton, and Joel Ollie as well, who can cause a nightmare for any defender at recent times. And so they're going to be a tough side to break down, I think, coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, it will be. So you're going for 3 points, 6 points, double here coming up, Joe, and you think it might be a point on Saturday, Lee?
Yeah, I think 1-1.
Yeah, I I'm veering towards a 1-1 as well. So, but again, like we say, 4 points from 2 games wouldn't be a bad return again, would it?
We'll take it all day long, especially including one of them being Forest.
Yeah. Josh Arnold's been back in touch again with us. Just saying there, do you guys think any free agents will come in? It's gone very quiet over recent days, but he believes that we need a couple, and I don't think there'll be many Borough fans that will disagree with that. Do you have any thoughts on that, boys? Start with you, Joe.
Well, I think Warnock said in his press conference today he was looking at some, but I think he was just keeping tight-lipped of on who's available, who can potentially come to us at the minute. So until who we find out who we've been linked with and who we could bring in, I don't think we'll find out really until either the club announces or we find out where the nearest source is, to be honest.
Yeah. How about yourself, Lee? We need to see some more players coming because we are a bit thin on the ground, aren't we?
We need them, but whether we'll get them, I don't know. Like, obviously, with everything that's going on as well, it's like no money going into the club at the minute, is there? So I don't think we'll get anyone, to be fair.
Right. And it's then asking a lot to get the current players and the squad through till January, isn't it? Without injuries, suspensions, and everything else having a hit on your results. But as you say, when there's no money coming into the club, it's difficult. I mean, just on a little bit of a side issue, what have you made of the fact that the club are trying to get people to go to the games or watch them in the lounges, and they can do that, but they can't go into the actual ground and watch the game? What do you think's the thinking behind that, Lee? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. Obviously, like by law, they're not allowed people in the stand, are they? So just trying to recoup a bit of coin, I guess. But it's stupid, man. It's just let fans back in.
Yeah. Yourself, Joe?
I think there's one side of it, like saying I would agree with what Lee said. You know, it does seem odd that they just allow them into the suites, not actually in the stands. But on one side of things, it does. I think it's for those fans who particularly struggle through what to go to the ground, particularly with their mental health side of things. But it is strange at this point, you know. Obviously, there could be some try to get a bit of coin into the club or some bits of those fans who desperately want to go back into the grounds just to see the team and just make sure it doesn't affect their mental health side of things. So it can work either both ways, to be honest, in this one.
Yeah, great. Well, lads, it's been a pleasure having you both on tonight. Going to have to cut things short now because obviously there's the big first round FA Cup draw coming up, and we wish Sunderland all the best of luck in it because obviously they're going to have a big game in the next round, and we'll see who they get in the draw tonight. Thanks for both coming on, Lee and Joe.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
All right. Thanks for you, everybody out there that's been watching tonight. Appreciate all your contributions. Hopefully, we're looking at another good points return for the Borough this week in the 2 home games. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Borough Fan TV and keep up to date with all the goings on at your favourite club during what's going to be a busy week. From myself, from Joe and Lee, and everyone at Borough Fan TV, good night and up the Borough.
Up the Borough.